Welcome back to Luke's Properties YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about the harsh truth that your job will never make you rich. Let's get into it. So firstly, I want to discuss the cash flow quadrant. Now, if you don't know what the cash flow quadrant is, it's a concept created by Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad. The cash flow quadrant splits people into 4 different types of income earners. So there's employees, self-employed people, business owners, and investors. And where you are in the quadrant determines how you earn money and your potential for financial freedom. So on the left side of the quadrant, we've got employees and self-employed people. Now, the problem with employees is they trade time for money. So most employees work 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week to earn a salary, which is normally between £2,000 to £3,000 a month. Now, the employee thinks they have a secure job, which in most cases they do, until for whatever reason, maybe AI takes their job, or their boss feels that they're not beneficial to the company anymore, or they have to make cutbacks. Then that secure job becomes unsecure. So every employee thinks they're secure until they're not. Their income isn't in their own hands, it's in the hands of their employer. So as safe and secure as it may feel, you're actually only one decision away from losing your job and not having any income. Another con of being an employee is you have limited income potential. As I said, most employees earn between £2,000 to £3,000 a month. If you're highly skilled, then you can earn more than that, but there's still normally a cap on an employee's income. Employees are also taxed heavily. So whether you're a basic rate taxpayer at 20%, or if you're in the next category up at 40% or 45%, you're taxed heavily on your income. Before you even receive your income, it's already been taxed, and the more you earn, the more tax you pay. You have no leverage because the only way you get paid is if you trade your time for money and go to work. You can't get paid if you don't go to work. So you have no leverage, and no leverage equals no financial freedom. Now let's look at self-employed people. Self-employed people are in a slightly better position. They work for themselves, but still they trade their time for money. They don't have any employees, they don't have any systems that make money for them. Self-employed people still have to trade time for money. If they don't go to work, they don't get paid. So think about plumbers, electricians, carpenters. If these people don't go to work, they don't get paid at all. So their income is still very dependent on their time. They can't scale very easily because they're normally a one-man band. They don't have any staff or systems that can help them scale and that can make money for them. So a self-employed person is still trapped in the time for money model. Most self-employed people think they own a business, but really they just own a job. Now let's look in contrast at business owners and investors. Now, being a business owner and an investor is where the freedom is, and I'm going to explain to you why. So a business owner owns a system that works without them. So my rent-to-rent business, for example, I don't physically have to go and trade my time to make money in that business. I have staff and systems that work for me. So that business makes me money whether I go to work or not. That business makes me money in my sleep because I've built something that has different cogs, employees, systems within it. I've hired people and built automation, which creates leverage. So my income isn't dependent on whether I go and trade time for money. So business owners' income continues even if they stop working. Their staff still go to work, their systems still work, and because of this, the business still generates money. Real businesses equals freedom and scalability because they have leverage. Now let's look at an investor. An investor will invest money in assets, and by doing so, that money will work for them rather than them working for money. An example of this would be my buy-to-let portfolio. I invest money as an investor into properties that appreciate in value over time without me doing anything, and also pay me a passive income once I've rented them out. My money's working for me rather than me working for my money. Investors earn money while they sleep. They cash flow from assets, not effort. Being an investor is the highest level of wealth creation, and if you combine being an investor with a business owner, you can really achieve some life-changing financial results. So now that we've discussed the differences between employees, self-employed people, business owners, and investors, let's look at how you can make the shift from an employee or a self-employed person to a business owner and an investor. Well, you don't have to stay stuck where you are. The goal should be to move from the left-hand side of the cash flow quadrant, from being an employee or a self-employed person, to the right-hand side of the quadrant, to business owners and investors. You just need the right vehicle and roadmap. You're not stuck. You don't have to stay where you are. You're not a tree. You can move, you can evolve, you can start a small business tomorrow, chip away at it, and over time, you can move from an employee over to being a business owner, or you can move from being a self-employed tradesman, for example, over to running your own business with other tradesmen working for you. The first business that I built was my rent-to-rent business. This business was amazing for me because I didn't have loads of money when I started, but I found a way to use the little money that I did have to rent old tired properties from landlords, give them a cosmetic refurbishment, and then re-rent them out for a premium. This was how I created a cash flowing business without owning any property. The beauty of rent to rent is once you've rented the properties out, the income becomes quite passive. There's not that much to do. You earn money monthly whether you go to work or not. You can scale your rent to rent business with systems and automation, like I have, by employing staff and by creating systems and automation. Your first rent to rent deal could replace your salary. I've got one rent to rent that makes me over £2,000 a month. So you don't need to have loads to replace your income. For most people, they replace their income with their first 1 to 3 rent to rents. Once they've done that, they have all this time back to learn new skills and to learn how to become a good investor. Once you have a profitable rent to rent business, your goal should be saving the profits and using those profits to buy your own properties. This is when you become an investor. When you buy property, that property pays you every month. Rent comes in while you sleep. You benefit from passive income and capital growth, and you achieve long-term wealth and financial freedom. So if you combine a cash flowing business, which is rent to rent, with some savvy investments, being buy to lets, then this pretty much guarantees you financial freedom and you become unstoppable. You just have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to evolve from being an employee or a self-employed person to becoming a business owner and an investor. Now, why most people stay broke is they rely only on jobs or self-employment. They trade their time for money. For most people, they do this into their 60s. Most people fear risk, but they don't realize the cost of inaction. They don't realize that not moving from an employee or a self-employed person over to a business owner and investor is the biggest risk of all, because before you know it, you've wasted 40 years working for the man rather than building your own financial future and becoming financially free. Most people stay broke because they don't understand the game of wealth. They don't understand these rules. They just follow what everyone else does because that's what they've been taught in school and in university. They haven't read enough books. They haven't focused on self-development. Maybe they haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Maybe they don't know about the cash flow quadrant, because if they did, then they would be starting businesses and learning about investing rather than being an employee or a self-employed person all of their life. No one ever taught them how to shift the cash flow quadrant. So now that you have this information, what are you going to do next? You need to get on the right side of the quadrant. Rent to rent is the fastest path for beginners. It's the fastest way to build a profitable business without needing huge sums of capital to get started. You don't need to buy property to start. With the right help, you can move from employee to business owner in 6 months, and I can show you exactly how. Now, if you want me to help you build your rent-to-rent business, I can guarantee you your first 1 to 3 rent-to-rents within the next 180 days. If you want to do this, then I'll put a link in the video description below. Click the link and you'll be able to book a call in with myself. On that call, we'll work out if we're a good fit for each other and if I'd be a good mentor for you. If not, then keep watching my videos, read about the cash flow quadrant, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and work towards moving from an employee or a self-employed person to a business owner and investor. This is how you become financially free. I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.